Hey, everybody out there on Twitch. My name is Erik Tait. I am so excited to have you guys here because tonight I get to interview someone who is making a fan documentary about the fleet. Please welcome, he's become one of my new best friends over the last 20 minutes. Please welcome Mr. Nickel. Mr. Nickel, you are here on Twitch. We've got 15 people and climbing. This is so exciting.
Yay, hello.
I'm so glad that you remembered Fleet is like literally the day after my NDA was up, so I could start talking about it. But it's incredible.
It's been really fun. I'm also just looking at the stream here, really glad all 12 pixels of my camera are coming through.
Hey,
but it's fine.
You know, you start with 12 pixels and you go up from there, and I think that we all know that from season 6, and I think that's enough. All we have to say.
But yeah, you know, on Wednesdays, I was asking people to gather some memories, and as it turned out, a lot more people remember this series than I thought, which was weird because I was at the conventions trying to do stuff. Whenever I brought it up, just blank faces. But as we know, TikTok world is a whole different world. So they have a wide, long memory on TikTok.
They have a completely different set of memories on TikTok that I think it's really a testament to how the platform allows people to access more of their brain than a lot of the other platforms. Not that I'm like endorsing one over another. It's just that there's something interesting going on there.
I think that is the TikTok saying is it's big brain time.
Yeah,
that's what I hear from them. So.
It's big brain time, and actually tonight is big brain time because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people want to find out about you and how we met. Actually, you and I met many years ago on the set because you were not there for Fleet. You were there.
I was unfortunately not there for the actual Fleet itself.
You were working for a different documentary, but you and I actually met at Bridgetown Studios, where in British Columbia, where a lot of the exterior scenes were. I was there working as a special effects technician, still doing some sleight of hand, and you were there working on a different fan documentary. I can't remember exactly which one you were there, but we passed in the hallway.
Yeah. Well, actually, at the time, as we can see, there's me at Bridge Studios in Vancouver. That was pre-pandemic hair, because right now this sucker is.
Oh man.
We're getting all the way down. I have not had a haircut since March of 2020. So I was working as an associate producer over at Bridge Studios on a film that shall not be named for NDA purposes on that. But I was there, God, it was a while back. They were in between filming, like, they still had Once Upon a Time on set. And I think we were just either wrapping or starting World of Warcraft for some things. So it was a weird, busy set, but I had this one little office that was like, if a hallway and an office had a baby and that baby had a really limited budget for office space, that's where I was. There was like a sliding door and no door, so just anyone walking by could see me, like a little patio of dreams.
So they're filming World of Warcraft there. So I imagine there's guys like walking around in orc makeup, right?
There's full-on orcs sitting around in gazebos.
Like, what is it like watching an orc like walk past a member of the Necronauts? I mean, like, that's got to be just insane when you see like the disparate like sizes and colors
it's two guys walking on stilts, first of all. So you got that in their pace. I'm gonna say every single time it was just the and I don't know if this trope is only for white people, but it's that thing of like the tight-lipped smile and head nod. Which
yeah.
Another day in paradise, eh, buddy? Just like 4 hours in the makeup chair for you too, eh, friend? Like just.
Well, one of the things that I remember was that because they were all on stilts, that we had to like open doors for them, and you would hear people like yelling across the sets. They would be like, "Stillwalker coming through," and because at first it was like orc coming through or Necronaut coming through, but it wasn't that at the end. It was just Stiltwalker.
Well,
because
you shout that, and everyone turns to look at it. If you shout Stiltwalker, they know, hey, if there's a puddle on the floor, maybe tell this poor guy. Like, like, well, I don't have to warn the orc that we spilt a little bit of crafty on the floor. But like,
yeah, the orcs could take it, but the Necronauts were a little fragile when they fell, just mostly because of all the stuff sticking out. But
it sounded like someone knocked over a pots and pan factory. Like, it wasn't my favorite, but so I worked actually. So my office shared again because the most budget in the world was spent on the associate producer office. it was actually connected to one of the big like areas of them filming, and I could hear stuff through the walls. So anytime you're watching like the last, because again I'm like on the last, like I'm like pickup shots by the time I'm there.
Yeah.
But like if you watch, say, a very amazing battle between two, and I don't spoil because it's the last episode, so I don't want to spoil. But like, let's say there's a big red ship versus a big blue ship, and you're watching them jump ship to ship, and just know that I'm sitting in an office that's all I can hear for a week and a half, losing my goddamn mind, quietly trying to make phone calls for the children's film I'm working on.
Wasn't it? There was a big crash, wasn't there?
Okay, so I was there for. I was there for Teardown. So they're ripping apart the ships, which, by the way, if anyone's looking for like, hey, where can I take a picture of the ships? You can't.
No.
They are in dumpsters. They're scattered to the seven winds.
I mean, they got reused in a lot of stuff because they would just like carve giant pieces of them out.
Chunks
and then,
of them got reused. I mean, so much of it is foam. You're just like ripping, but you still have like the structural insides to it. So I'm in my office and I hear this crash through the wall that sounds like the goddamn world's falling apart. Later, only did I know that it was in fact gravity getting blown up. But still like,
yeah.
So
unfortunately, it wasn't a tentacle. It wasn't a tentacled sociopath doing it. It was just somebody doing tearing down. Yeah. Which arguably also a tentacled sociopath. But that's another.
I would never say that to their face because I need a ride from set. So, like, toys on my desk falling over. I got comics I've framed on the wall falling over. I run outside trying to see what's going on. And there's just this one guy standing in front of Barnabas's ship, gone. We're talking like half destroyed into the ground. And can I swear on the stream?
I don't give a fuck if you swear on stream.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to break that one. He's standing there and I'm like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Should I go get help? And he's like, you know what? Fuck you too, the sky. It's like, what's that? He's like, goddamn boat. It's supposed to be in the sky. Can't stay in the goddamn sky. Falling over on its own. If this was the sky, it would have floated. I was like, all right, buddy.
Oh, I love that. Fuck you to the sky. That is, I mean, if that doesn't end up in a wiki somewhere by tomorrow, I don't know what the point of this is. So for those of you just joining us, we're numbers are rapidly growing here. I think I see the viewer says 22, but I think there's usually a K at the end of that. And so if you have any questions for Mr. Nickel, now is the time to ask them. I know that you're working on a fan documentary.
So that's I was asking for memories, and boy howdy, set your sails, steam in the wind. Did I ever get the response I was looking for some memories? But that was the original plan of this. I just wanted to make it's one of my favorite shows growing up. It was one of my favorite book series that really got me into writing. Can they get that on a t-shirt? I'm not saying no. But yeah, so I was like, hey, like this is cool. I kind of like had the most adjacent thing to you. I didn't even know you were there until we started hosting the same burlesque shows at festivals and stuff.
Yeah, that was something that came up much later because you and I were at Bridge Studios, but we weren't like. I realized you were there much later because you and I ended up at the I believe it was BurlesqueCon 2016 in Los Angeles, and you were hosting. I was competing. It was a really lovely time, and as happens at these festivals is people start to talk afterwards and say where they've been because the burlesque community is pretty small. We all know each other, and I was surprised to meet another host because hosts are few and far between. And I was talking about this little burlesque show that I used to do in British Columbia. It was Tentacles and Teases, which was interesting. It was interesting because it was not Fleet related. You would have thought it was. It was very different. It was an octopus heavy town that was super into cephalopods, and so I was talking about that, and then you mentioned being at Bridge Studios, and that's how our relationship blossomed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like the film town is only so big, the burlesque town's only so big. Mm-hmm. You can only walk around a set so long until you bump into each other. Yeah. How would I introduce Eric at a burlesque show? We'll get to that. I don't want to shout. This is a brand new microphone I bought just for the stream. It's very important.
This is. I appreciate that. A lot of people don't know how actually dramatically important this stream is, at least in journalistic integrity. And I appreciate you raising your sound game for that.
Yeah. What was I even talking about? All right. So But yeah, Burlesque is like it was a fun community. I will say this of Burlesque, I have missed it for the year and a bit. It is gone. If another straight passing white male never hosts a Burlesque show in my city again, I'm fine with that. It's an interesting situation. I have been very lucky, and I try to be very respectful of the precious commodity that was my stage time for Burlesque. But like, as being the only person talking in a room full of naked human beings, you don't need this face. I like being there, but you don't need it, so that's fine. So if I need to start redirecting stuff and putting my energy into something I love, and I'm like, oh, I love fan documentaries. I can make a fan documentary because I love talking nerd stuff, and that's kind of where this got in. And then I was like, hey, Eric, remember that show?
Yeah.
You knew people from that show, right? And you're like, again, yes, I still have those connections.
Yeah. So Katie and I became friends on set because we worked together so long, and then years later we reconnected over a love of Dungeons and Dragons. And she was the first one that I thought of when you reached out to me, and she was still friends with Patrick, and it's just sort of blossomed from there about how many people we were able to bring in. I actually have a really good question here in the chat. Do you know how many people are being interviewed for this documentary? Because because the question was, is there a limit? And I don't think there's a limit because of the way TikTok works. I mean,
there's not a specific limit on it. So this was like, this started as a fact gathering opportunity of just like, hey, is there any interest? You got to pitch to producers. I didn't want to go strictly the Kickstarter route. I wanted to try traditional grunt work of just finding investors and whatnot on my own. And I was planning like, okay, if there is some interest in this, like once conventions start again in 2022, 2023, that is when I'll break out the old camera. I've helped my friends do this for other fan documentaries. I have a few very lovely nerd friends who have done stuff, and I'm usually we call it the grabber in an inarticulate blunt term, but I'm really good with other nerds. So when there'll be like a cosplayer or something from a series, I can spot a cosplay in 3 seconds. I'll be the one to walk up and be like, hey, how's it going? Love the cosplay, compliment the character, compliment the stuff, and be like, my buddy is working on a thing, would you mind, like, he's still in view, we're in the same room, no second location, but like, do you want to go over, because like you're at a convention, there's a lot of moving parts, and when you're a guy with a camera, it's hard to like maneuver up in the face of every person. So I'm like, I got the sea legs for this, like I can probably like grab a crew and do some stuff. So my plan was 2022, 2023, but at the moment it looks like we're gonna have to just start getting a bunch of self tapes because like, Lord only knows. I don't even know. Again, like, wasn't sure if the documentary was going to be a thing. Still don't know. But it was amazing to see the response.
You know, we got a question here in the chat, which was, were you surprised to find how many actors were already on TikTok? And I'm going to be honest, I want to change that question a little bit, Sorkabeth. That's a really good question. I am honestly shocked at how few production members we have found and how many extras we've found, because there were so many.
Because, like, you know, like, here's the thing about entertainment, and you and I know this because you and I are behind camera folk.
Yep.
Not that we couldn't be in front of the cameras, because who doesn't need more of this facial hair?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but Mr. Nickel and I have beard melded, and that's how I was able to contribute a lot of my memories of the show to him.
But yeah, so I'm more fascinated that there hasn't been more, like, I was craft services on this. Like, I want to find those people, because that's like, the face is fun, and I get that. That is like, you know, more people are sending messages to Alan Tudyk about this than the guy who was serving spaghetti every second Thursday. But still, that's somebody on this. I
want to find the craft services person who knows exactly how they fed Glurp when he was in prosthetics, because I was not involved in that. And when I get to meet that person, I want to sit down with them, because I feel like that's the real story behind the scenes.
I was finding, and we'll get to I think you got some of the images I sent you that I digitized before I left Bridge.
Yes.
But I do still have my little box of secrets that I kept some stuff in. I did not keep one item, and it was literally a mop bucket that said Glurp Slop. And when I got it, I was like, I don't know what end of the glurp this is for. Oh. Like, I don't know if this is coming or going, Glurp Slop. Oh. So I did not keep that bucket. I will say that much. Yeah, but like, so I like that. The first person who I saw post something was Young Meadow Cliffside.
Mm-hmm.
And I was absolutely amazed, first of all, to see that he managed to steal some props from set too.
Man, I don't know what security firm it was that was doing security there, but don't hire Blackwater is all I'm saying. Let's keep going.
I will also say to anyone who does visit scenic Vancouver, British Columbia, do not try to walk into Bridge Studios. Nothing is left there. We have taken everything.
The walls are bare.
The walls are bare. The walls are gone.
Mhm.
Support structure under the walls are now missing.
My understanding was that they actually started shooting on green screens because the original Fleet was shot on blue screens back in the day, and so even even a lot of the old chroma key stuff is completely gone. So do not go to Bridge Studios and attempt to get memorabilia. There is nothing left.
It's gone. I will also say for budgetary purposes, the blue screens made a lot of sense because in some of those shots, you could tell when there was an actually have an episode, they didn't have to replace the blue screen. It was like, sky is blue, done and done. Like, it's not that blue. It's like, it's pretty blue. Yeah, so again, I would love to hear more from the actual crew of it, but Meadow Cliffside was the first one to reach out. And then it was that kind of thing where you were talking to your friends. I was like, oh, hey, like, you know Meadow? And it's like, well, yeah, obviously, because, like, Katie, Annie.
Yeah.
Like they know Meadow, we got Vlad in the mix, and it's been so many actors that I want to talk to all the actors. There's fun stories from an actor, but, and this is not shade on actors,
no,
because I love actors. They're not there for most of the stupid stuff that happens on set, and those are the stories I have. So,
can you share with me perhaps maybe one of the stories involving some of the extras who were getting out of hand when they were working on the Silurium Continuum?
Okay, so you're trying to.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
One of my buddies was a production assistant on this. So this is a secondhand story, and I apologize, but not everyone was on set that you're going to be interviewing for this. So, like, you're going to get some secondhand.
Yeah.
But so they're filming this thing in Vancouver. You can actually go visit these, like, it's a sulfur pile is what it is. It's like, it looks like yellow sands. You've seen it in, like, Stargate. You've seen it in anything that's trying to do an alien planet. It is a literal pile of sulfur. It smells like rotten egg. It's chemicals,
yeah,
but, like, you can safely film there. It looks really alien and cool. So you're just getting these extras that look like they ate a yellow cake wrong, just covered in sulfur. And one of them goes to start washing it off, and you don't want to add like you don't want to just splash water on powdered sulfur. It's not.
Yeah, it sort of activates it and makes everything both more pungent and staining.
Yeah, so you're supposed to get, like, air hose off. They literally just have like the air pressure hose that they just, like, get you off with. And this guy's got a water bottle like this, and he just goes to dump it on himself while standing on a pile of it. And, like, it's like, listen, you guys are supposed to melt away today on the cerulean piles, but you're not supposed to do it in such a realistic way we can't show people the footage.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah, don't. Yeah. So if you're watching this and you're going to be shooting your own sort of like fan tributes to various scenes that have appeared in the years, do not use water and sulfur. Don't mix. Yeah. Safety issue.
And you know what? Like, it's exposed. I'm sure it's not as bad as they had built it up to be.
Yeah.
But, like, just why check? Why test that out?
No. And there's this stream, and the ethos of everyone who worked in production on fleets is safety. Safety was so important. Like, I remember there was this, we had hired a number of acrobats in this sort of like xenon anti-gravity field that was going on. I'm not quite sure exactly what the story was, but there were so many clips coming off of them that I swear it was the inspiration for a number of scenes in Into the Spider-Verse.
It's possible.
Yeah, the safety was so important, but it's amazing. It's amazing that they went above and beyond with a lot of this stuff.
And so this is the thing too, like, I want to bring this up, like, when you're filming in Vancouver, which is a lovely town. Y'all should visit when it's safe to do so. You can go skiing, ride a sailboat, play around a golf in the same day if that's your whim. But you're gonna have these crossovers where, like, so I don't want to say the full city I live in because I enjoy not being doxxed, and
yeah.
But it is a city adjacent to Vancouver, and it looks kind of old-timey-ier. So at one point, we've got, like, one of the streets set up for a shot from Godzilla,
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the slope of the street is San Francisco, and it intersects with like the front street of abandoned Tokyo from this. It's the Bryan Cranston one.
Yeah.
So we've got that set up on the corner there, and then half a block down, still using the covered parking lot, which they also used for iRobot. Remember that scene where like he's chasing down the robot who had gotten the lady's puffer?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's that same thing. They've torn down that whole thing now, but like it was that same area because they're trying to use it as the sailing docks for the Aurelian fleet, right? So they've got it all set, decked out. They've got that. So you've got like Sky Pirates, Toxic Tokyo, Godzilla smashed San Francisco. So you've got all of that going on same time, and this is the fact that this is real is what's hurting my brain. Is we're doing a retro video game convention, and I worked as a PA, both like production and personal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the personal assistant for Charles Martinet, the voice of Super Mario.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. He is the most patient man.
Wait a minute. So you're like walking around with the voice of Mario. So like at any point, did you hand him a mushroom? Were you giving him flowers? Like
I did.
Were you like moving the turtles that Vancouver is known for out of the way?
I mean, I did inform him Godzilla was here, and we're gonna have to get him to jump on an axe to get him to leave. But no, so I'm walking him around town, and first of all, I just want to say he brought all of his own headshots. He was giving them away for free. He stayed like 8 hours. He did everybody's outgoing voice messaging. I told him I wanted to be a voice actor. He took me out for a 3-hour dinner.
What?
I just paid for it himself. He wanted to just talk. I think he wanted to talk to someone and not talk about himself. It was amazing.
What was his advice to you when saying it's a me?
He didn't coach me on his voice fully.
Okay.
But he did say so. And this is we're gonna jump all over. It's not just gonna be ships tonight, but I like telling stories.
No, absolutely. You were telling me a lot of wonderful stories, and I want to before we got on stream, and I want to bring them up because you have lived. Charmed isn't the way I would put it, but there's definitely an adjective related to that.
So we're walking down the street. He's like, "So what are they filming?" And I'm like, "It's right here is Godzilla, and down there is ships of the Northern Fleet." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "This is San Francisco." I'm like, yeah, they like all the signs have been changed, everything like it looked like San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, you can film in San Francisco. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Can you film on a Sky Pirate ship? He's like, no, see, that makes sense to me. You can't just go to a Sky Pirate ship. And having the voice of Mario tell me you can't go to a Sky Pirate ship, and I'm like, everything your character has showed me so far is that you should go to a Sky Pirate ship.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of your stories end. Like
there is a kidnap victim up there right now, and you are the only one who can rescue her.
So it's like this weird surreality where I'm just like, okay, because I know Bryan Cranston's filming right now. We have to just get Walter White and Mario together because whatever drugs come out of that, that's going to get you dreaming about a frog for the second game. I tell you what.
So let me ask you, is this, I missed the date on this, but like, is this at a period in time where you would have had a phone that could do like a panoramic shot? Because I can imagine that if you were to like show up with a panoramic camera and then like go from like Sky Pirates to San Francisco to Godzilla, that people would have thought that you photoshopped it, but you could have gotten the image for real with Mario at the end of it.
I should have sent it to you. Maybe I'll put it up later on like the Discord or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, hit up the Discord, go to the subreddit. Help share those memories. But like I do have a photo of me in like really dapperly dressed because I was like trying to be a personal assistant, trying to be nice, in front of like a flaming bus. So the best part I want to point out too is that if you watch Godzilla and you're trying to watch like, oh, like what street does Mr. Nickel live on? Mm-hmm. You can't tell because they put all this work into the signs and then it's pitch black with explosions. And it's like some poor set deck just like spent his whole week doing nothing. Which I can only imagine on ships when you go into like Barnabas's cabin or Hellman's cabin, like every photo, every piece of art. Like,
well, so what a lot of people don't know is that what a lot of those interior ships, the interior shots in the ships, they're the same ship. It was just some poor PA's job to take out everything that Hellman had put in and then replace it with Barnabas's stuff.
Somewhere there must be so many Polaroids of just like books in piles so they can match them later.
Yeah.
If you have Polaroid photos of just piles of books and stuff from this, I want to see those.
We're
gonna have to have like a set deck channel on
Yeah,
the Discord. Or
like
something.
if you're watching this, we need all of this stuff from those of you who are working there in production. Like, get those images into the Discord so that we can see that. I'm certain that
You
there
used
is
a certain word. You used a certain word, Eric. And there's something fascinating I want to tell you.
Oh, what is the word?
The word is production.
Production.
Now, I've got my sources.
Okay.
I've been doing some clandestine methods in this, and I'm excited. Let's say, for instance, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, midnight Eastern.
Okay.
A certain shirt website, I might have helped find a box of production crew shirts from this show.
You're kidding me. I don't even have mine.
Yeah, well, that's probably because it's packed up in a box in New Orleans right now.
In season 6, we were promised shirts and we never got them.
Yeah, it's the real simple, just like white logo production crew shirt. I will say they've been in a box for like a decade now.
So there's what you're telling me is they're still mint condition?
Yeah, they're worn condition. they have been folded a few hundred times condition. But if you go to T-Villain late Wednesday, early Thursday, you might be able to get yourself a production crew shirt from ships of the Northern Fleet. And I've talked to them, and because my part of this is just trying to spread the fan love.
Yeah.
Every penny I get out of the commission fee for that, like for the finder's fee on the shirt,
Yeah.
right to the Trevor Project. I don't need that money. That's Trevor Project.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
I love the Trevor
I will
Project.
I will say this very clearly.
Yeah.
I am giving actual money to the Trevor Project. I just want to. I don't know. It felt weird that it felt like that was an extra thing, but that was I just wanted to make sure that's an actual thing that's happening. For those of you unfamiliar, by the way, Trevor Project is a 24-hour toll-free hotline that gives advice and help to LGBTQI plus youths who might be feeling stress to the point of even harm to themselves. It also provides resources and advice to people who are wishing to be a better ally to people like that in their lives. It's a very important organization, and every penny raised from anything merch-wise that I'm involved with for this is going to that cause.
It is really important that people understand that while we are having a lot of fun tonight telling stories from that set, that this is a real thing. And in addition to this money, if you have extra funds around, you should be sure to donate them to the Trevor Project. I know I donated a couple of times last year. I intend to use some of my extra income this year to donate to the Trevor Project because I also fully support everything that is going on there.
Yep.
It's so good.
So I'm happy to say right now, because I'm also, I've got a shirt up on T-Villain at the moment that's just like a very supportive Satan shirt, in case you need a supportive Satan shirt. Non-fleet related, just I like to draw. But the other shirts I've found that are just like the blue logo and the Swiggity Swaggity Let's Blow Up Gravity shirt and mask that are on Art of Wear, so far we have raised $250 for the Trevor Project.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I am prepared to add a little bit of my extra money myself, just on top of that. But that's just right now. That's before the production crew shirts go out. You might, if you follow T-Villain on some social media, they promised me maybe a little sneaky deaky unboxing video later. We'll see. But as far as I understand, I could be wrong. The world is an uncertain place. Reality is flexible. Buy gold. But Thursday morning, if you check on tvillain.com, I'm pretty sure you might find a treat for yourself in a very limited amount on one specific style. Because again, it was the crew shirt. It's not like it's on sweaters and whatnot. But like, this could be fun.
Well, you know, I mean, these are sweaters that they found in a box, still wrapped. So, with pre-warned, so that the crew wouldn't have to worry about like messing it up themselves. So these. I
mean, that's the thing. I actually find a lot of productions actually do the pre-worn look on stuff, just so when you get to set, you don't feel bad about messing up the really nice shirt you have.
So let's so I know that you have a lot of stories that you want to share with people, but I think that I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk Fleet a little bit, because we should talk a lot about you and your amazing life and the fascinating life that you've lived. But we do have a lot of Fleet fans here, and you ferreted out some artwork from the set.
Yeah.
And
so the other day we got to do the fun Q&A.
Yeah.
And I actually found one of the alt scripts from Fleet where we read out the alternative season 3 opener that no one had ever seen before. So it was fun for the crew because they got to actually read it out live for the first time. But I also had a box of some art.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I don't know a lot about this art. I'm seeing a lot of this for the first time, but I'm bringing this one up here, and this appears to be some sort of airship that I haven't seen before.
Right. Yes. So this is the Deadlift. So they were planning a storyline where the Necronauts were kind of like weaponizing the dead.
Not just bringing them back and cheating the Black Knight. They wanted to like use them as some sort of weapon.
Yeah, so what they wanted to do was put them in these cages, and it was kind of like the air equivalent of a sea mine, where you'd hide them in dark clouds, and then you have this issue of like running into it and releasing what was basically a zombie on them. They just called them the Dead Eyes. Because of like you can see in the photo there's not a lot of life in them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just that they don't have a lot of life in them. It's that their eyes very specifically are dead, while other portions of their body are still living. It's just that the eye, like that, was how you could tell how dead they that they were able to be weaponized, was the death in their eyes. It made it very difficult for them to hunt down their prey, but it afforded them other abilities.
It was more of a berserker rage thing where it wasn't they weren't doing the infected zombie thing where like you bite them, now you're a zombie, but it was still bad enough. You got a ship in the sky, and now someone who's just attacking you like tooth and claw, as it were, is coming at you. So they canned this. It was in the script, wasn't in the books, was going to be on the show. Walking Dead started.
Okay, that explains it, because we spend entirely too much time fabricating aluminum, because they had this plan where what they wanted to do was they wanted to make it real, because Neil deGrasse Tyson had spent so much time like just blowing up all kinds of physics stuff in Star Trek, and so they were like, how is this mine going to work in the air? Like, how are we going to get these Dead Eyes onto another ship?
How do you keep the blimp at one thing without someone actively like pulling on? Yeah.
And we have fabricated these aluminum housings that would actually like propel the Dead Eyes away from the mine and then embed itself into another ship, so that the Dead Eyes could then get through the hull, but rather than splatter against it. It was a nightmare to fabricate, and I'd always wondered why. But at that point I was off the show, and I never found out exactly why. But
literally, Walking Dead, as far as I can tell on this from the notes, I found a couple of these with stuff, and it's just crossed out, and it's just like Walking Dead did it. And it's just like Walking Dead didn't invent the zombie, but they just didn't want to have their show competing visually and thematically with a Walking Dead episode. It was like, it's easier to just scrap the whole mess.
And the character, there's I believe it was one of the captains had taken to carrying a revolver that was just an interesting props choice, and so there was just going to be too many like particular crossovers that were going to be difficult. Sorry,
you're
wait a minute.
I'm gonna put this up real brief because I don't know about if it's like TikTok on here, but whoop, and we're done. All right, so
no, you cannot just flash that on stream and not tell everyone.
I can 100% do that. You're not my boss.
You grab a nickel by the tail. You grab a nickel by the tail, and you are in for a wild ride. Let's move on to the next one, and then we'll pop back to some other storytelling here. This ship, the Poe, I found really, really fascinating.
So again, we're looking at like early production art here, and this is like the equivalent of cocktail napkin doodling that we're seeing from them. Like this is not blueprints, but they were going to do one of the ships, and I don't know if it was budget or SPCA, but they wanted to have live ravens, like a cloud of live ravens supporting this ship. And like obviously you're going to have a couple ravens on set, and then CGI, and then animatronic. I'm not that. This is you. This isn't me. I'm not that guy.
Okay, so first of all, from a fan perspective, I found it interesting that this is one of the few ships the few airships that actually included an anchor, and not as a melee weapon like other ships did, but they just like functionally used it as an anchor. The reason this got canned is because in small scale testing, the Ravens understood the power that they had over the ship and began to use it to attack the crew.
They're just swinging ship, as it were.
They were swinging the ship, but they also figured out that if a few of them worked hard, that others could actually land on the ship and then be able to use the functional elements to further cause disarray around the set. It was an honest nightmare because the animal handlers could not control them once they gave them the power of the ship.
There's no way this did not just start as some sort of thought experiment of someone be like, could enough birds grab a tree to lift the world? And then someone's just like sketching a boat panickedly beside them. So like, there's, again, a lot of the stuff I'm finding in these boxes, the fascinating part of it is this isn't part of the lore, but like it's what could have been.
Yeah.
It's what could have been out there. So
obviously
we got a Necronaut ship there.
Yeah.
But like,
and we all know how far occasionally the TV show took liberties in deviating from both the novels and the graphic novels. And I will let you know, while you should not go to Bridgetown Studios, you should go to Omaha, Nebraska, where they tested small scale versions of it, because there are locals that still talk about the night of the multiple Raven ship excursion. It is
whoever of the animal trainers, because a bunch of those birds got loose.
Yeah.
Whoever trained them to because a raven can talk once it frees its tongue. That's why we have the Edgar Allan Poe story. Like I don't know if it was saying nevermore, but a raven can mimic human noise. Yeah. Just usually a syllable or two. In Omaha, there's somewhere 100 ravens flying in the wild that all know the word run. And it's just the most horrifying thing to have a bird land on a signpost, look you dead in your soul, and just go, run. Like that's not what you want.
Well, this is how smart those ravens were. Is that as a lot of people know, Glurp's manual dexterity was very difficult, because of the prosthetics. So we had taken to using Raspberry Pis and voice activated servos to accomplish certain specific effects. And there was like a flash pot that we had, and it wasn't this particular ship. We were using ravens in a different storyline. It had something to do with a chlorine plasma impulsor.
Well, they spent a raven budget and they were still going to use it.
Yeah. But Glurp was supposed to, like, what was supposed to happen was Glurp was supposed to be like shwiggity swaggity, and then a flashpot would go off near him, and then he would react to it. But we had programmed, we'd use these sensors to like listen for Glurp to say swiggity swaggity as a voice activated thing, and the ravens figured it out and would cause the flashpots to go off like mid scene before he got there.
Wait, are you telling me somewhere out there's just a raven swigging and swagging all over the place?
I'm telling you that not only is there a raven that is swigging and swagging, but Patrick's instinctive fear of ravens is because of how many times they set him on fire using our voice activated flashpots.
That seems enough to me.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, again, unfortunately, we never saw it live, but, there's the cocktail napkin doodle.
Yeah. We'll do one more, and then let's get some stories from you. And if you have questions in the chat, we would love to take them, either about Mr. Nichols' illustrious career and fan documentaries, or about the fleets themselves. But this right here, this animatronic bat, is honestly one of the most amazing devices that I ever personally worked on, because we modeled it off of the robotic dragonflies that are actually on display at the CIA Museum in Washington, D.C. If you ever get a chance after COVID is over and we can all go out and have fun, you should go to the CIA, the Spy Museum in D.C., because some of the stuff that they were working on there was amazing. But we got to see that dragonfly and then apply it to getting this bat flying. And but the way they actually used it was just frankly horrifying.
Yeah. Well, so obviously on this one of the more expensive pieces, you've got your like 17 jewel Swiss clockwork motion inside of it. So this is one of the ones you would see the Necronauts kind of just like unfurl their hands and let these loose into the sky. And
when he says let these loose, he means 6 of them at a time, not like one, like 6.
No,
the Necronaut would open their hand and just
gentle dove of peace into the air.
No,
but they fly, my creatures of the night. What glorious noise you make, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that glorious noise, by the way, was like ratchets going against one another. So it was like at you.
I will say this, not in one design of these did I see any part where they're like, and then we can cap the sharp parts of it when we're not filming. So I can only imagine the amount of actual bloodshed that these little monsters put out into the world.
No, I still have scars. Actually, I think I'm not sure if my camera can focus.
You also have the finger scar.
I do have the finger scar.
That's okay. So this is how you know that you've worked with a Clockwork Bat.
Yep.
Is if you check if someone says like I was on set with a Clockwork Bat, you go to shake their hand and you feel the index finger. And if in that index finger you feel a dent,
yeah,
they worked with a Clockwork Bat.
We can tell, those of you in the world who've worked with a Clockwork Bat, it's a weird brotherhood. I mean, brotherhood's not the right word because it's a sisterhood as well. It's a weird siblinghood, but we're all bonded.
I also take a non-binary hood.
Oh yeah, it's a weird non-binary hood, and we all know when we got our tetanus shots.
Yeah. Well, so the best part about this, though, is the ease of filming for them, from what I've heard, is that if you want terror in someone's eyes, you don't even have to let it loose. You just have to see one of the guys on sets cranking it up. You don't have to have anyone dressed as like an undead. You don't have anyone there in costume. All you need is one set deck guy staring you dead in the eyes as he puts the key in the back of the bat. And just like, there's fear. There's fear in your heart now, buddy.
The guy who eventually played Olaf refused to do scenes with Clockwork Bats, and so every time you see Olaf and a Clockwork Bat on set, it's actually his stunt double. That's how afraid of him he was.
Again, I want to talk to the stunt doubles. I want to talk to the people. I want to talk to a Clockwork Bat handler more than anything in the world.
Yeah, hop in the Discord if you're a Clockwork Bat handler.
And also, let me know if that's the first line on your Tinder bio.
I truly believe that if you want to get anywhere in life, whether it's getting into a television show, working behind the scenes, finding your mate for life, the real key to success is Clockwork Bat handler on your resume.
Yeah.
So got a nice question here before we sort of transition back into your life. Rubidocious is asking, what are your favorite episodes from the show?
So I write for a living. I write stories, I write little snips, but I write short format. So I don't do like a full movie. Like all my plays are one-act plays. All my stories are short stories. I can do like a movie if you're going to do it like the movie VHS, where it's like all like little segments. So I love anthology or like put together stuff. So season 3, and these were like the ones where it's just like they didn't have the cast all at one time, but they turned out to be like my favorite. So it's kind of like in Doctor Who, the episode Blink, where it's like Doctor Who's barely in it. I think season 3 episode, I want to say 12 or 13, and I got so many people who know so much more than me. That's the only problem here. I feel like out nerded on Ships on the Northern Fleet, but 12 or 13 when it was the Ship of Many Flags. And you're just seeing it from the point of view of like kind of the individual workers. So it's just like you got your nameless cogsman on that, which is like he's fixing the ship. It's a ship plummeting into the depths of Hell's Cavern, and you're just like, I want to see the story of how when at the end of that episode he got the ship back up, but he's so damaged. Like you can see, because the Cogsfolks, the difference between I don't have to tell the audience, but the difference between a Cogsfolks and a Necronaut, for those of you who have not like full on the show, Cogsfolks might get like a robotic part here or there, but they're not trying to cheat death. They're just trying to like get a couple more like flights on the ship, whereas a Necronaut is trying to replace the whole thing. So he saved the ship. We're seeing that red horizon as they rise out, but he's so damaged, and he turns to his crewman and he can see she's so damaged because they just got hit by that last cannon fire from the Necronaut ship, and he reaches into his own chest and he pulls out the clockwork heart, and his last words are just, "This was always yours." And just like
you're describing that now, and I'm like remembering that scene.
I didn't need 3 seasons to get to know this guy. I didn't need a name for this guy. It's just I can feel that like these ships have people on them. These ships are, even though it's a story in the world, even though this like show doesn't exist in the way that like history exists, it makes it real.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it real when you have these tiny little stories that maybe aren't the big captains, which, first of all, there's 800 captains and ships of the Northern Fleet. But, like, when you have just a crewman who's in there for one episode, that's more moving to me. Those are the stories that I follow. And yeah, so sorry to bring, like, the mood down on that, but it's just the look on his face as he's holding it, and the fact that we don't see her put it in. We don't know if she made it. Like, it's possible he was talking to a corpse, but his last motion is to let her know that she's loved and that she was such. It's just, that's storytelling. You know, it's special to me.
I feel like one thing that gets overlooked is how much the Cogs people really did love and feel for each other, even despite the ceramic cataclysm that was. I feel like. It was,
Cogsfolk are like one of the strongest groups. Like, obviously, if I'm gonna put anything together, I'm a storyteller, so I'm a scribe, right? But, like, literally the heart of a ship. If we see anything from that, the heart of a ship is a Cogsfolk. Like, I like adventure, I like that, but, like, it's its own thing. But, you know,
the Cogsfolk have this underlying sentiment and this trial about themselves, that they're dealing with a completely different set of circumstances than the rest of the fleets, because you have the Necronauts and running around trying to do just really just look for their lives and try and try and move forward, and the True Winds are really out there, like, just leaping into the void and letting what comes for them. But the Cogsfolk, they dealt with reality in a different way.
Yeah. Well, as we know, there's those who write, those who sail, those who fight, and those who keep us going. And those who keep us going, that's the Cogsfolk.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an external thing. I think that's what I do. Like, because I'm the kind of person, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to buy you a present, right? Because I want to see you smile. And I think that's what it is. It's just such a, like, I'm going to replace my arm with this big robotic thing. The main purpose of this is to fix the ship. It's not to make me better. It's not to make me stronger. It's so I can better serve the ship. And I think, so just, like, love you all my Cogfolk off there. I'll see how many times I can say the phrase, we're up to 4.
There's so many. There's so many people in the fandom who identify as Scribe Feathers because we're nerds. We like stories.
Well,
like,
also the group of people making a Wikipedia, you're going to have some Scribe Feathers in the group.
Yeah, you're going to have more than a couple of Scribe Feathers there, and a lot of the people who have some of the best memories for Fleet are going to be Scribe Feathers. But I feel like growing up, that my friends who were the most into Fleet were Cogsfolk themselves, because what they got out of it was all of the work that it took to keep these amazing contraptions in the air and to get from point A to point B. And you just can't do that without the Cogsfolk. Yes, there's adventure. Yes, there's action, but it's it's being a part of something and being able to make things that a lot of my childhood friends were so attracted to.
I will say, though, pretty much anyone I've dated has looked aesthetically like a Necronaut.
I mean, obviously,
all of us Cogsfolks in the streets,
Necronauts in the sheets. I think we all know that. But so let's get back a little bit to you before we return to Fleet. But you were telling me a story of you ended up working a con and you were in a booth the entire time.
So,
which is like, you're not even selling your own merch, right?
No, I'm not selling my own merch. I went to San Diego ComicCon, and they told me, they're like, hey, like, I was up for a role voice acting, because I was an amateur voice actor. I still dabble here or there. I get an occasional ad now or then, but, like, I was trying to do this voice acting thing, and they're like, tell you what, like, you can come down. We're going to do this new movie. We'll put you up San Diego Comic-Con for the weekend. It's going to be super great. And I was like, yeah, love to come down. And so I get there, and it's a knockoff Ship of the Northern Fleet, like, merch booth. So it's nothing that says Ships of the Northern Fleet on it, nothing that says Scribe Feather True Wind, but it's just like, this shirt has a cog and a bolt on it.
Yeah.
Like, this shirt has a purple feather on it. And I'm like, I flew.
Yeah, like they're selling shirts that say Boats of the Southern Flotilla.
Yeah. like more or less. But I'm like, I flew from Vancouver to San Diego for this, and also I've been to San Diego and New York Comic-Con. If you can choose between the two when the world starts spinning again, go to New York Comic-Con, because New York can handle that amount of people showing up. San Diego just transforms into madness. But
no, I lived in Los Angeles for a number of years, and just going down to San Diego just to go to the zoo when Comic-Con wasn't there was very pleasant.
Yeah.
Very wonderful town, nice restaurants. When you go down there when it's Comic-Con, it's literally like going to an airport, like a city that has been transformed into an airport. But that airport has considerably more claws, tentacles, and face paint.
Yeah. So I'm coming back to the literal hostel that they have put me up in, and I'm wearing the merch that I'm supposed to be selling. So I'm wearing the blue cogs wheel, but it doesn't say the logo on it.
Yeah.
But it's the blue cogs wheel. It's got the captain's points on it and the cog on the bottom that you see in the background of the ships of the Northern Fleet logo. There is, and I want to say this first of all before I tell this story. Sex workers need to be protected, and we need better laws for them because it is work.
Agreed.
It is a valuable service, and people need that. This is a genuine story, so this is why I'm telling it. She's dressed as a pirate, standing outside of my hostel, and she sees my shirt, and she says, hey, I can make you feel good. And because comedy hits my brain before truth does.
Yeah.
And I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You're a psychiatrist?" And like you could see her be like, "Oh, buddy, no. Ooh, I can't deal with that tonight." Like, just like she's like, "No. Go in." And it's just so, yeah. It was the weirdest weekend of just like representing a brand I didn't represent. So you can see now I kind of want to get more involved in it. It's like, how would I actually do something for this community that's not making a buck for someone else making a shirt?
Do you think though that maybe there's a small part of her that like looked down at the shirt and recognized that it wasn't official Fleet merch, and she was like, "This fucking shill"?
I mean, I hope she did. I hope she had the best weekend and made every dollar she deserved. It
like,
was just that little moment of just like, I'm not what you're shopping for. I'm sorry.
Like, what if when she was like, "I know how to make you feel good," what she meant was, "I can put you in official Fleet merch and then put season 4 on DVD in here because I brought a DVD player."
I missed out, but yeah, again, I just want to be very clear. The intent of that story, which a literal story that happened to me at a comic book convention, is that we should also change the laws and help out sex workers.
No,
so I know it's weird to like sandwich that between stuff, but I just don't want anyone to misinterpret how I'm telling a story on here, because it is important. I'm very transparent that way.
I feel like one of the important things that I'm gathering as we are reacquainting ourselves as friends and realizing more and more things about each other is that you and I will continue to do streams where we talk about our absolute favorite thing in the world, which is ships of the Northern Fleet, and also push forward a very progressive and important message, which is support LGBTQ rights, support LGBTQ people and the resources that they need. Sex work is real work. Affordable housing is necessary. And the rich are good if they're prepared in a white wine sauce. I feel like we're in total agreement.
Pretty much on track. I will say this one thing. I write for mobile games, and it was a lower franchise one. But I wrote a story for it because I was reading the forums, because I love reading the forums. I love watching fan reactions, and I was writing the story for the mobile game, and I noticed that they were really ragging on a female character for it. Like they were just like, really, like it's just like there's like so limited female identifying presentation in this franchise, and they're just so I got to write stories for it. So I wrote a story for a Halloween one. Where every other character just gets like completely waysided and knocked out and dragged down, and this one female character made it all the way to the end, and she takes out this big bad that had been going on for like 3 months in the story. I'm being vague here just because I genuinely, this is my job and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
But like, just saying, and I looked at the forums later and they're like, it's like some social justice warrior wrote this shit. And I just screamed at my monitor, he did, and he wanted to make you mad, and it did, and now he's happy. Like,
yeah,
like, just to know, sometimes when you see stuff where it's like a social justice warrior wrote this to make me mad, He did. He did, and he's glad that you're mad now. Die angry.
I write ad copy for something, and I made a specific choice regarding pronouns, and I'll tell you about this off stream. I shouldn't say it on stream, but let me tell you, it took over 18 months for someone to notice, and it was very funny when they did notice. But so you're at this convention, and you're wearing and selling knockoff Fleet merch. By the way, so this is like before a lot of the NDAs were up, and before TikTok.
Well, because there wasn't merch. Like if you try to search for merch on this, there was nothing. So people are filling that bubble, understandably. But they're filling it in a way where now, even if you try to find the knockoff merch, you can't Google it, because what are you going to Google? Like blue ship wheel? Like that's not.
Well, but I also like as happens with a lot of merch like this, is people are hanging onto it as a collector's items now. I mean, like you try and get any of the original Ninja Turtles toys in the package. You can't. They hang on to them. It's going up in value, and some of that older knockoff ships merch I mean, like you have to look hard for it, but you got to go to like Potter and Potter auctions, and it goes for $6,000-$7,000 for a shirt that has holes and pit stains in it.
Yeah, which again, tvillain.com. Exciting on Thursday for that shirt. But yeah, it's so I'm working this merch booth, and this is several years ago. They were gonna get Christopher Lee to come down to the booth to sign some stuff. So he was working a side project. He's not even. It's like they're not doing. I want to be very clear. They weren't doing Ships of the Northern Fleet stuff, but they were gonna get him to come down, and they're like, get to sign stuff. So it's like you see him sitting behind the booth.
You know it's Fleet.
So I'm like, this whole weekend I've been working open to close of this convention by myself.
So what's he like? So because I never really got to work closely with him. So what's he like?
At the same time, he's due at the booth. They tell me they're contractually obligated to do a panel upstairs.
What? They're a knockoff T-shirt manufacturer. What are they? Are they doing a panel on knockoff T-shirts?
They signed up to do a panel on fan art.
Oh, so that's how they get around all the copyright stuff. Is that it's fan art?
They literally. So I'm gonna block out because my actual name's on this. Yeah. But and again, like obviously, but like, so I have this is a San Diego Comic-Con name placard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to like cover. Like you can see, there's an N. There you go, that's good enough for you.
No. So you all understand, I have a lot of journalistic integrity on this particular Twitch stream, and I can verify that Mr. Nickel showed me this nameplate earlier, and I can verify that this is real.
Yeah. So I ran a panel for this fan art company at the same time that he's downstairs at the booth.
You're just a hired gun, and they send you up there to do the.
I improv'd the panel. They gave me the slideshow on a laptop, and they're like, "Oh, it's the same as last year." I'm like, "I wasn't here last year." And like, "You'll get it." So I'm just like improving a convention panel as the one person I would want to meet as someone wearing a knockoff T-shirt is down there, and we did like this Instagram thing where you could win. So we did an Instagram thing where you could win a signature, and I was in charge of the social media for that because why again hire another person? So I'm trying to get people to post your favorite thing in pirate fleet wear and use like hashtag pirate fleet, and we're gonna get you an autograph. So I'm telling people bring like any Ships of the Northern Fleet merch you want. He's gonna sign anything you like. And we get down there, and they're only letting him sign this little poster of their logo. And meanwhile, all these people have been running around the convention spending like $6,000 on merch when they can get their hand on it. It's just like
nuts.
So I don't get to hang out with them. I don't get to watch people. And then anyone I told to come show up is mad because they bought merch to get him to sign that he can't sign legally now.
I know.
It's just.
I know hundreds of people go to Comic-Con every year. If you're watching this right now and you have a signed copy of Pirate Fleet, a signed Pirate Fleet poster by Christopher Lee, I want to see it in the Discord. I really, really need to see Pirate Fleet with a Christopher Lee signature in the Discord.
So I'm seeing a question here, and I haven't been, but like Infinite Quest, thank you. Yes, improving an entire convention panel. Like just making stuff up for like a 2-hour panel.
Who could do that?
It was insane.
I can't imagine that.
I was just filling time. It was a lot of ums and ahs. I'm not an improv guy. I can't just like make up a story and make it sound real. So I'm trying to sit there and be like, oh yeah, like this artist drew this picture of a pirate and I'm not allowed to say anything Northern Fleet related, so it's just
I can't.
it was a special. I
I can't imagine improvising an entire panel complete with realistic graphics and credit scenes. Just
why would you
playing
have a
over.
Why would you have a slideshow for a thing that doesn't exist?
No, exactly. I don't.
No one's gonna watch it. No one's gonna care about it. It would be the stupidest exercise in futility you could ever attempt.
There's no reason.
Say this.
There's no reason that anyone should reach out to Dragon Con or even Ohio Con or any of the smaller cons to put on something like this. I mean,
it would be weird.
Yeah, it'd be super weird if like hundreds of people spammed them.
A Ships of the Northern Fleet panel. I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, I think that there are a number of people who would love to be involved in a Ships of the Northern Fleet panel.
Yeah, I would love to have guest stars and stuff. I will say for San Diego Comic-Con, Doug Jones is the nicest man I have ever met in my life.
Is he really?
He is really. It was pre-set up, so it was like day 3. I'm putting back up like the big because you tear down and put up every night.
Yeah.
So I'm putting back up like the big display of T-shirts. I'm putting out. They're naming Slurp dolls. Oh. Which, yeah, you had so many directions to go for a knockoff Glurp. You don't need to go Slurp dolls.
Like I love that they're like trying to get like a Fortnite tie-in to a Glurp knockoff doll.
So I'm putting these out, and I look at and Doug Jones. For those of you who don't know, first of all, shame on you. No, it's fine. Sorry, I did a thing I hate when nerds do. I'm gonna bring this up because again, apparently I am a wholesome man, who everyone likes. If someone ever comes to you and tells you they haven't seen a nerd thing, what they have done is hand you a beautiful invitation to watch something you love through new eyes. And to deny yourself of that pleasure by asking them why they haven't seen it and not hand them the invitation to give to you and to them the gift of this thing is so weird. So if you haven't seen Doug Jones stuff, let me know. I would love to introduce you to those properties. But
one of my favorite experiences was when my favorite nerd experiences when I lived in Los Angeles. I worked for a production company that we ended up working on a film called The Joneses, but my boss was one of the creative directors there, and she introduced me to Doctor Who because I had never seen it at that point, and so she chose to introduce me through the episode Blink, which is like arguably one of the scariest episodes.
We brought up,
but also colored my entire view of Doctor Who for quite some time.
You get to choose where someone enters a franchise. It's magical. Which, by the way, if you're at home choosing, might I recommend an episode where a man rips out his clockwork heart? But so he's on his phone and he looks over and I cannot. His expression. He obviously had a nice phone call, but he looked over at me like you would look at a puppy that you saw in a parking lot in a snowstorm of just like, oh, you precious little thing, what has happened to you? Like he looked at me and it's just like I was behind my thing. I'm like, oh hi, because like I didn't know how you're supposed to act or like are you supposed to. It was before open, so it was like no one else on the floor.
Yeah,
empty floor. I'm standing behind a knockoff Ships of the Northern Fleet booth. There's Doug Jones. So he comes over, and I'm like, oh hello, Mr. Jones. you call him Dr. Doll, but so it's hello, Mr. Jones, and he's like, hello, how are you today? What's your name? And I'm like, he's like, hello, I'm Doug, and I'm like, yes, you're Doug Jones. And then so like we're going through. By the way, if anyone could just completely delete my name from your memory, that'd be cool.
Yep.
That was so. We're going through this, and I was like, I'm a really big fan of yours. And he's like, that sounds like it deserves a hug. And I was like, oh, I would like a hug from Doug Jones. So I go around the table and he gives me like a really genuine, nice, like puts his head on top of my head. I'm a 6'3" guy, but he still like is a big, tall bean. Puts his head on it. I was like, oh, that's such a nice hug. Thank you. And I'm like, the other day I watched both Hellboy movies and then Hocus Pocus because I wanted to just watch a bunch of Doug Jones. And he's like, you know what that gets? It gets a second hug. So like he like gives me a second hug. We finish the hug and he's like, you know what would be really special right now is if we took a photo together.
What?
Like, he asked me and I was like, I would like that very much.
That's
Thank
amazing.
You. So we took a photo. The photo I have is so shaky because I took it. I'm like, but like, so like he did, and I watched him walk away, and then I watched him do this like another 3 times with very tired con goers who like he would look at them, see the sparkle in their eyes. He walked by of recognition, go up and introduce himself. Kind of so. later on Facebook, I want to tell my friends about this nice fan interaction moment. So I type it in and I tag what I assumed was his fan page. It was his personal account.
No way!
So
Doug Jones does not have a personal account that you can just tag on Facebook.
Okay, first of all, that's careful information for everyone right now. Please, for the love of God. I think this is one of the tags you can use on Discord. Be cool, man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
but at the time, at least, yes, he had a personal account. So I didn't realize I had done this. He starts like liking every comment. This isn't a time where it's just liking. There's no like special thing. He starts liking every comment on the thing, and then he puts a note at the bottom. He's like, "I remember this moment. You're my little precious puppy." And I'm like, "I'm Doug Jones's precious puppy." So
I have
that was the best part of that weekend of otherwise absolute hell.
Is there a particular reason that you don't have an "I'm Doug Jones's precious puppy" tattooed on the back of your neck?
I will say this. I have since seen him use that phrase of affection on other people. I think that's his go-to. That's like his tiger. That's his sport.
Gotcha.
It is a lovely phrase.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
I cannot claim that it is just me who is Doug Jones's precious puppy.
I mean, I feel like if there's anyone who can manifest being Doug Jones's personal and first precious puppy, it might be Mr. Nickel. But
I have been told that I give off the vibes of a golden retriever turned into a real boy by a birthday wish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, that's it. Let's hop back over into Fleet World for a little bit, because I think we have some viewers who are very interested.
That was Fleet related.
It was Fleet related. I think we need to just I want to get through more of the art that you brought us.
Oh, please!
Because
I did just dump on you for that. So
yeah. We looked at the mechanical bat was the last thing. Mechanical Bat Club.
Clockwork
bat. Thank you very much. And then, but then there's this Clockwork Hedgehog, which is interesting because the Clockwork Bat brings a lot of fear, but the Clockwork Hedgehog, that's a different emotion.
So Clockwork Bat, obviously Necronauts.
Yeah.
Clockwork Hog or Clock Hog,
yes,
if you will. A Clock Hog was actually for the Cogsfolk, and it was supposed to be like a gear delivery service. So basically, if you're on one part of the ship, you need parts to go to the other part of the ship. You give it to the hog, you wind it, you tell it where to go, and it runs off down the thing. Now, I've only seen the art of these. I've never seen one of these run. If I could hold a Clockwork Hedgehog in my hands, I would be a puddle of tears in love. But like,
I don't have one here. But
if you ever ship me one, we're best friends forever.
we did make them, and one of the things we did was this is a practical effect that we did so that we could save some money on the CG, and this was before BB-8. But what we did was we basically built a big ball that was like one of those like Weibo robots that was like a ball, and we put it inside, and so on the ground, and it's colored black, but on the ground is like its cute little pot belly, but it's on the ground and it's rubberized so it can just go. But then what we did was we put the feet on there, and the feet would go super fast to make it look like it was going faster. And the cats running the remote controls, they're not actual cats. I'm using cat as a vernacular. We would never provide a remote controlled hedgehog to a cat to control. That would just be madness.
No, that's a hat and a cat, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. But the kids running around would just shoot them all over the set, and it would actually look. But because of the way that the little bellies were done, or the ball that would actually move them around, when you picked it up in order to get the cogs from it and cuddle it, you could like tickle its belly, and it would like look like a pot-bellied hedgehog. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wish I could have held one of these, but all I got was the picture.
It's what is not coming through in this particular image is how silky smooth the fur was.
Okay, because I would have by the image I was thinking that it might actually have just been like spiked plating, but you're telling me like it was just like spiky fur plates.
No, it was spiky fur plating, but then they had affixed silky smooth fur over the plating. So what you're seeing is sort of a textured effect. So it is armored, and when a Necronaut would board a ship, the hedgehogs would like,
you would see them scurry.
Yeah,
like just
yeah, and occasionally they would like surround some of the more important or injured crew members, and they would like stick the little spikes up, and then it would like fan up, but they were still soft, so you could pet them.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, that's also stage safe, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not like a clockwork bat. That was the perfect way to get tetanus. But
Yeah. That's weird. Is the two like you have one just flying knives and
Yeah.
one rolling softness,
Yeah.
and if also that doesn't perfectly define Cogsfolk and Necronauts just on their own. Just it's they had their animals and they represented them pretty well.
I want to talk about quite possibly one of the most beautifully horrifying pieces of prosthetic costuming that ever came about from this.
Okay.
And it was the shark mermaid.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Yes.
fish on it's so I actually have a friend, and I'm going to see if I can find this image, who did a variation on this as a cosplay, but it is my favorite type of mermaid, which is fish on the top, fish on the bottom, people in the middle.
Yeah. Which I think is, I don't know if like the term is still mermaid when it's got the trifecta going there, but yeah, these things. So this again, cocktail napkin doodle of it. But I think it was the stress of having the Wikipedia people in the feed where I know I'm going to say an episode, and it's not to like comic book guy y'all, but I just be cool, man. Like, I know the episode, I don't know the numbers. It's all that it still makes me a real fan. But like, yeah, like on this thing, just the way that they would reveal it with like you would get the shadow over the top, so you're seeing this kind of like siren dance calling to you of it, and then just a wall of teeth and scales. It was really something. I think that season 5 was the first time we saw one of the Sky Shark maids. Kind of, I can't recall the title. I'm sure someone knows it better than I do. But like, I literally just always called him Jossum. Like it was just always.
So I just took a brief moment here because I actually found, like I said, a friend of mine is a cosplayer. She goes by Lynn Elise Bergs. She's at quite a few different cons. But I just wanted to throw this up because I just snagged this off of her. But
this is new to me.
Yeah. So this is a particular. This was inspired by this, but again, like I said, one of my favorite pieces of cosplay is mermaids who are fish on the bottom, fish on the top, people in the middle, and there was an official cosplay that happened, and here it is on the screen right now.
I'm gonna look forward to it. I'm way behind on my stream.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna react in a second.
Yes.
I think I'm like 10 seconds behind. I might have to refresh it. But imagine what's happening right now.
Yeah.
This, I bet you, looks great.
It does.
In the right direction? I don't think I did. This looks fantastic.
But it's something that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I told you. Fish on the bottom, fish on the top, people in the middle.
Oh, it came as such a horrifying shock all at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
She went as, so as we know, a lot of the mermaids in the sky, they do have like the Neapolitan ice cream of mermaid, if you will. She went to the koi kind of version with it, like goldfishy.
Yeah, which was very different than the shark maids, which were deadly and terrifying.
We really are going to both edge of this right now, of cute and horrifying.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you watch this in real time, horrifying, cute. Horrifying, cute.
I'm
horrifying,
my
cute.
Feed so I can get
horrifying, cute.
Some of that action.
Yeah. So I apologize for everybody who is seeing that like pop back and forth right now, but my favorite things.
I don't apologize.
No, it's great.
I'm glad it happened.
It's great. I'm also super glad that I was finally able to get other people on board with the Neapolitan ice cream mermaid theory.
Yeah. Well, just like where the gills have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Let's take a look at some of the other art that you ferreted out here. This is the Carol, which I thought was interesting because it appears to be sort of a two-part ship, but also playing card inspired. And I noticed that the heart always starts this particular airship.
Right. So, like, you'll find a lot of the old ships were actually named after writers, because, like, as Neil Barnabas was named after Neil Gaiman, it seemed that their inspiration started from other writers. So this one, I think, would be the Lewis Carroll, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of got that Alice in Wonderland feel, and that's I think the separation is you kind of got like the down the rabbit hole of the mast in the middle right there.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just got original series Annie is watching right now,
Oh,
and
good.
and she just private messaged me demanding that I ship her a cog hog. So she's
Well, I called dibs, Annie, and
yeah. Obviously,
just
Mr.
saying.
Nickel gets the first one if I can dig one out of if I can find one in storage. But
I'll tell you, Annie can have a cog hog if I can have one of her hats.
I like
we can do a swap.
I like the cog hog horse hat trading that's going on right now.
Yeah, if you look at this one, it's actually really interesting. So the lower part can almost like as a landing deck.
Yeah.
They can fly rather than boarding from the side. They can kind of board from above and just drop. And that mast actually would go into the dirigible on top when they were like kind of like so they could squish and stretch as kind of like almost like the grow and shrink thing of the eat me drink me potions, which I was really fascinated by.
I was always very interested in this ship when I was reading the original books because this was one of the first times that they are actually able to reduce the size of the dirigible. Because I'm not sure if many people caught this, but the actual floaty bit is quite a bit smaller than the rest of the boat, and they went into it a little bit. And again, this goes to like the detail in the original books, and it was paid is that there's a whole information section on using a polar portal bracket to be able to reduce the size of the dirigible, which was just the science on this was so fascinating to me that really drew me into the world.
Well, it was on this one. I think it was one of the cases too for they hyper cool the gas on this, which should have made it heavier than air.
Yeah.
But they were doing that in such a way that it was like not cold fusion, but it was like this unique kind of like skyromancy, if you will. Like
Yeah.
they're taking the clouds want to replace the cold air so fast that it's actually like the sky itself lifting while the balloons await inside. I can't know the science of it. There's like when you read the books, it's like 12 pages. It's as though someone went to Tolkien and asked him to describe one meal worth of description of how the blimp works. But
And it was because of the way it was bringing the clouds in so fast and hypercooling them, it left a sort of mist behind it that was also a faint green, like a faint luminescent green. So everyone always knew where the Carol had been, but no one could know where it was going.
yeah, it was very interesting on that one. So that's one of the I keep calling these cocktail napkin ones because I found these in a box underneath some stuff for Once Upon a Time filming. So like it's literally like box of brooms, box of lucky horseshoes, box of my childhood.
Following this, I'm not sure if this is sort of a childhood rendering of Glurp or if this was a another member of Glurp's species or some other relation to the accident that Glurp had gone into. But what I'm getting here is that this is clearly a rendering of something that was going to be made because a plug has been left in, so you can tell that there's a 3.5-inch jack that this is going to be plugged into. But also the collar is really interesting, and then you can see some of the what I'm thinking might be headphones, but also could be sort of a grabby bit,
So this one's actually kind of interesting. So this one is kind of from the same camp of the Deadeyes. Actually, you can see kind of the battle damage on the top of the cephalopod there. Kind of the collar indicates. So what we have left over, I think this is probably from one of the guys who was trying out the suits from the actual doodle, and that's why you can see like his on-stage headphones still on him and like he's still plugged in kind of thing.
Okay.
But this was going to work a lot in the same way that Big Bird works. So you can see very obviously the two legs and the head up. So a lot of people don't know how Big Bird works. Is Carol Spinney, which by the way, your childhood. He was, for everyone there. But he would have one arm all the way straight up, and the other arm is one arm's kind of stapled to the side. So they were having to activate the eyes on this with one hand way above their head, using one arm to try to get a tentacle going while walking around. And I think just like logistically speaking, there was one day where these things were wandering set before they knocked over every single piece of set debt, and we're just like, you know what? We're going to skip the Deadeye cephalopods. We're skipping the Deadeyes. So you can thank Walking Dead for not seeing a walking undead octopus on one of the ship's decks.
Oh man, I was wondering why I did not recognize this, but it does make sense why it's got the jack is coming off of the headphones there, because it wasn't clicking for me. But I do like the implication of how powerful they could have been with the broken chain, because a normal Deadeye is like based off of a humanoid character, obviously very scary. But when you get into like giant cephalopod size, and if you're using this for scale, I mean, like, look at those headphones. Those are normal size headphones. This cephalopod could easily lift and throw a car.
Yeah. So that's where this guy went. That's why you didn't really see him proper in the series. But hey, if you know what, fan fiction these days, I don't know if anyone out there feels up to making up a story about ships of the Northern Fleet, but if you want to imagine what it could have been for the Deadeyes to be part of it, I don't want to piss off the people doing the Wikipedia page and doing so much good work with like false information, but just flag that as like what could have been and like write your fan fiction. But again, don't mix your real history with the behind the scenes, because there's fan fiction and there's real, and that's what we're dealing with here.
And let's do our very best to pay homage to the production crew that works so hard, especially with this particular piece of concept art right here. Getting into some of the automata that were involved in this. I want to give a big shout out, because I wasn't actually involved in the automata. There was another group that was brought in, but every time you see one of these robots, that's actually a robot. Now, occasionally they used life-size marionettes in order to make some of the more slender, spindly robots move around, and then they just digitally remove the wires. But a lot of the automaton were real, because they would program them to do very simple things, and then the actors had a more visceral experience. That's why, specifically in season 3, you see Katie react so hard to a robot walking around a corner, because no one had told her that we weren't using the marionettes. She thought that they had gotten away from us, that we had like programmed them wrong.
Well, so we have here a portrait of First Cog. So this is, as you know, the Cogsfolk do sometimes make like automata, that kind of thing, the very, very simple ones just for one task, kind of like how that like first robot was like playing chess but was a guy underneath, kind of thing. So it was one of those.
The Magnificent Turk, I think that was.
I believe that was. But this is one of the first ones. This is kind of an homage to when they first they realized it was feeling things. So this was kind of like a storyboard for that scene when there's kind of like the moonrise over top of one of the kingdoms, and they can see that it's missing the young girl that it used to look after, because it was just like a nursery bot kind of thing.
This was the first one to achieve sentience, when it was the first time they used tantalum vacuum cores, correct?
That would have been that. Yeah, okay. You can see the cleared chess piece there where the core would have been inserted. So this is like the young girl at this point. She's gone off and become one of the Sky Queens. She's in her late 50s, but he's still holding on to the memory of her as a child, and he's stuck in that limited loop, but you can see that he's cognizant of it. And that's why, again, Cogsfolk, I think, they're the most fun-loving group with some of the most tragic characters, which a lot of that comes, like, when you're sad, you sometimes crack more jokes. But like, if you're looking like, so there was a sad story, and sounds like Cogsfolk story. Like, there's a sad Cogsfolk story.
I'm having a memory come back to me now of a graphic novel that I read that I didn't even realize was Fleet related, because it was around it was the story of the first Cog, and it made that deep exploration of this automata who could never age and did not experience the passage of time the way of physical flesh and blood being, who can decay and age and moves through time in a linear fashion. The exploration of the first Cog being built to take care of this young woman, who then would eventually leave and then become the Sky Queen, and he would hear. I say he. It's a they, because it's a machine, and following that story from someone from a being that is locked in time and can never age or move on with their life. They experience emotions in different ways. I didn't even realize that was a Fleet-related graphic novel until I'm seeing this particular image right here. It's just...
Well, and that's the thing with the first Cogs, too, is he's not feeling like loss or remorse or anything. It's not even confusion. Because as you said, like, it's that part of the programming is now lost.
Yeah.
So it's like the object that you're supposed to be caring for isn't there, and that also kind of just speaks. I can't speak from my experience, but from watching it through my friends and other people, of when your kid grows up, of just like, well, I remember the little you. The little you is still real to me. There is still a child in my head that runs around and was the young you. And then for that just not to be there, he doesn't have, again, the same sense of time as we do. So to him, there is always the child. There is always not the child. And that's kind of like this image here of just like considering like the room is burnt down around him, the world has collapsed around him, the child he looks after has gone on to rule the skies and commit atrocities, but to this one robot there is always a little girl that needs her stuffed bunny. And I think that's
the idea that like the robot, the automaton is so focused on the return of the bunny, because they're like, you and I as flesh and blood, people, we look at this and we apply a certain amount of emotion to it because we look at that eyebrow coming up, we look at that lid coming down, and we know what that emotion is. But this is a device, a being that is built without those emotions, and it's impossible for us to even really understand this. And I think that was one of the great things that Fleet did as far as the writing and the storytelling going, was conveying this lack of emotion to beings who are made of emotion, and then vice versa, when there would be a deeply emotional story that needed to be brought to those of us who were just here for battle and skyships and pirates.
Yeah, well, that's, and like, again, I don't want to brag about how great I'm doing right now, but I've been chatting with a lot of the main crew, which has been blowing my mind daily, just to be getting messages from these people that I was like, no, but you're Annie though.
Yeah.
But you're Meadow. I've Meadow, by the way, it's just, I want to see more Meadow art. I want to do more stuff, because Meadow's just been such a great person, and was one of the first actors to reach out to me.
Can I say, I watched the Q&A. Why do all of them have musical instruments?
I don't know.
At their fingertips? Because when I was on set, they did not have instruments. They all grew up, got instruments, started just like singing and jamming like a band. Like, I almost wonder if there's going to be like a Fleet crew, musical crew, or like, you know how like the Marines have like the Marine band? Like, is there a Fleet band, like a jam band among the Fleet cast? I'm not sure.
What would you name the Fleet jam band besides Songs of the Northern Fleet?
That's
right, I took that one off the table right away for you. You're welcome. No low-hanging fruit.
Harmonics of the Eastern Horizon.
Oh, chef kiss.
Moose and Fear joining us in the chat, saying Ships of the Northern Fleet saved my life from a very dark time. Thanks, Moose and Fear. We're always glad to find out about other folks who Fleet really did great for them in a wonderful time.
It's, the fan gathering, just so, again, it's been less than a week. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. it will be 1 week since people really started remembering the show.
I don't see this stopping.
I hope not, but like, we've reached more than 1 million views on the Ships of the Northern Fleet hashtag, which I'm so glad I started using, because it wasn't trending. There was like 10 videos before I started in on this. So Ships of the Northern Fleet thing, and today, I might not to advertise my own TikTok, but you can, whatever. But I wanted to do a kind of Ships of the Northern Fleet. I did a cosplay as Red Laterre, it was fun. I had that sitting by that people could now recognize. But I was like, oh, it'd be so funny if Red Laterre was doing like the Tim Curry part from Muppet Treasure Island. So I did. There's that up there, by the way. If you want to join in the crew on that, please, I would love the duets. But so I'm like, it's so funny because Tim Curry obviously was on Ships of the Northern Fleet and on Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
So I don't have to tell you who Tim Curry played, because it's like telling, like, you know the first time you see a Tim Curry. But so I'm looking at the hashtags, and hashtag Muppet Treasure Island, which has had the entirety of TikTok to be around.
Yeah.
Is at 750,000 views.
I mean, I think it's clear, like, what is the more passionate fandom?
Is obviously like more beloved. I don't know if I can say this sentence properly, but I feel like maybe Ships of the Northern Fleet is more beloved than Muppet Treasure Island. There, I said it. It's at least more viewed on TikTok.
Yeah. If in my experience, if something doesn't exist on TikTok, then it doesn't exist at all.
I lack all object permanence. Yeah. Every morning I wake up screaming.
Can I tell you a quick Tim Curry story?
please.
So after I left Ships of the Northern Fleet, I was looking for something to do, and I decided to pass the time by moving to Los Angeles. And I was just like looking for something to fill my days while I was looking for other stuff. So I worked for Verizon, but I worked for an authorized retailer. And I was sitting behind my desk, just like waiting for someone to come in. And in walks Tim Curry and another gentleman, and they sat down. Very nice, very polite, explaining what they needed. Tim was back and forth from England quite a lot, and so he needed a cell phone that could travel internationally. This is before iPhones are super popular. So the iPhone, the first iPhone is out, but it's not the iPhone 3G yet. Can't really do international calls. He really wanted it, but also Verizon didn't have it at the time. It was exclusive to AT&T. So we have one phone that will do this for him because he doesn't want a really complicated phone. So it's a Samsung phone. Can't remember the model, but I remember it was bright gold and a flip phone. This is how long ago it was. So I hunt up Tim Curry's account. I confirm that it is Tim Curry because he has to give me his the last four of his social, and so I can look. So I now have locked in my memory the last four digits of Tim Curry's social security number, which I'm not going to say on stream. But also I can see that it actually is Tim Curry's account. When we activate it, we activate the international calling, so he has no problem, and so he can. So he takes his phone, and I'm very cool and very professional the whole way through. And it was just before he left that he lost his cool, and I just blurted out, "I loved you in The Hunt for Red October," and he turned around and said, "Really, not Fleet?" and then walked out.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I will say, and this is a pro tip from someone who works in behind the scenes nerdery, for any of you out there. If you have a favorite actor or whatnot that you're meeting at the convention, look up one of their favorite minor projects beforehand and mention that to them, because you will see their eyes light up.
Yeah.
Like if you go to Tudyk and mention Fleet or mention Firefly, he's going to be like, yes, I was in those. That was great. But if you go to Alan Tudyk and mention iRobot, he's like, wasn't that cool? Like, it's still a big movie, but it's like, because when I got to direct him for a video game that never came out, where I wrote him as Rumpelstiltskin. And I got to be like in the booth as he was recording.
Tudyk as Rumpelstiltskin might be my new favorite casting in the history of anything. It
was really fun. I'm really sad it didn't come out, but like he came up to me at the start of it and he's like, so it's a used car salesman. I'm like, it is 100% used car salesman. And to date this, we actually had Gillian Jacobs come on as the Blue Fairy. And she had just come off the set of Community and came on with her water bottle with like the anus logo. And I knew Gillian Jacobs was big on podcasts, so the whole way, like telling her how to do lines, I was just like, okay, do this, but with like Paul F. Tompkins sarcasm, and she's like, yeah, I can do that. But anyways, Tudyk, like full professional the whole time, so great. And I brought up like, hey, I live down the street from where they did iRobot. He's like, no way! Just like... So yeah, if you have a favorite nerd celeb, bring up a minor work, and you're more likely to do that. Or alternatively, never talk to them when they're eating a meal ever.
Oh yeah, no, that's that doesn't go for major celebrities or even minor celebrities. That just goes for people in general. Just don't. Yeah. I on my birthday many years ago, George Takei was the Grand Marshal of the Columbus, Ohio Gay Pride Parade. And I said hello to him while we were both waiting in line for the bathroom, and he was very kind about it. And also I noticed he washed his hands, which is really important. And he was less than thrilled when someone ran up and tried to hug him while he was trying to put sushi into his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was also not offended that we were waiting in line for the bathroom because he could tell that I was not acting that I had to pee because I had waited way too long. So it's also important to be genuine in those reactions.
I have a really quick Takei story, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, no, please.
It's not even mine. It's one of my friends. Because I know I'm friends with a lot of production assistants. If you want weird stories of nerd stuff, film in Vancouver. But he was in Vancouver filming a thing, and for his breakfast, he wanted a very specific meal that involved like running to 3 of the different crafties around the studio because there's multiple film things going on.
Yeah.
So they had to run to like 3 different crafties, get it. They're like out of breath, bringing them this giant plate of food. He looks at it, takes it, and I can't do a perfect version of his voice, so I do apologize. But he looks at them and goes, that looks very fortifying. And like goes back into his tray. And that's not my story.
Yeah.
But also there's 16 people on this feed and I stole it, so screw it. That's a real story of one of my friends. Yep.
Let's move on from the robot and take a look at. So this is a photo that is taken January of 1971, and there are. I'm just. I feel like I know what this is about, but I'm gonna need a little more context from you.
So, when it was just the books, when there wasn't a show, this is the kind of fan planning you would find.
Is this
so
like
this is still in the books?
Is this early cosplay?
So this is still in the box. So this was stuff they were trying to. This was in the proof of concept for the show, where they're trying to be like, no, there's a fan base. Like we can get this show going. And this one guy, he didn't have a photo of his costume, but he drew it.
Okay.
He drew his own costume to prove that there was a fan base for the show based off a book, which is the most roundabout way to get a producer. But apparently in the early 90s, they were just whipping out pilots like anything. So in the books, this is how he assumed Glurp looked.
Okay.
This is based off of book Glurp.
Because I looked at this and I knew it was Glurp. I did not recognize the wings, and what really threw me for a loop was the fact that I can clearly see this as a drawing, but it is labeled photo taken. And so I was really like, that was why I needed the context from you.
No,
because
that's fair. The pure brass balls.
Yeah.
To just draw a photo of your cosplay, which also, by the way, here it looks like Glurp was made if Cthulhu and Sasquatch had a baby, apparently.
Yeah,
but
and that baby was educated by a Shakespeare
nerd. No shade
nerd.
Against whatever artist drew this, but geez.
Yeah. I love that Glurp appears to be giving like a heartfelt speech from Othello.
To swig or not to swag. That is the gravity.
I do hope that revealing this, though, kicks off a new trend of other people drawing their cosplay. Because I
want people to draw your cosplay if you just can't get it together.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's easy for you to take a photo of your cosplay. It's hard for you to draw an accurate depiction of your own cosplay, and that is a challenge that I would put to anybody watching this.
I also I want you guys to draw. If you're a great artist, I can't draw. I wish I could draw something like that. But if you're a great artist, I would love to see you draw a comparison between the book version and the show version of some of the characters, so that we can see stuff like this, where it's like, Glurp was described as having a texture that cannot be defined, and they're apparently fur crotch.
Yeah.
Question mark, Glurp floats gently to the floor. Probably has wings? Question mark.
Yeah, the depiction of Glurp attacking a can of rations like a reverse vampire is probably what led to the depiction of the fangs on the bottom of the mouth.
Oh, I've not even seen that. That's
Yeah, but
that is wild.
But I do remember that being described in the book. I think there's only a couple more of these, but the Gaiman is really interesting because this is an early Barnabas ship, is it not? This is before.
It is. This was back when they were thinking of flipping the script and making Barnabas the Necronaut captain and Hellman the True Wind.
Yeah, because Barnabas would never have a skull on his ship with such clear depiction. Nor, Barnabas obviously not going to have ice picks hanging off underneath it. He's he's here to remove some loot from you and take it off your hands.
It's a far more violent ship here.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, so they're code naming them with the author names for the kind of stuff. Which, back then, if you just saw this page with the game in, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, they're making a Ships of the Northern Fleet series."
Yeah.
You would just be like, "Oh, that's a weird floaty ship that kind of looks like a ripoff of Ships of the Northern Fleet." You would just see the sketch like that. But
yeah.
So it was a fan letter writing campaign because they had announced the casting for who was going to play Barnabas and who was going to play Hellman, and the fans were like, "That feels weird."
Yeah.
And so literally they're like, "Oh, okay, so what we're going to do is rather than do our version where the good guy's bad and the bad guy's good," because it's the same thing with Douglas Adams when he redid Hitchhiker's Guide. Every time he would change it a little because he's like, well, the same people are watching it.
Yeah.
But the people going into this assumed that there was such a huge fan base that they were tired of the story already, even though it hadn't had the show yet. So they're like, "Oh, we should change it up so it's new and fresh for the fans." And we haven't had the live action version. You can't just go in changing stuff like this. So it's called the Gaiman, but obviously this kind of evolved into Hellman's ship, and you can see that in the side pinchers there for launching, for boarding, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And kind of that strapped on gunner's nest on the front.
it's really interesting how even though they were playing this like flip flop with the characters and their motivations, they're still paying homage to some of Barnabas's original tactics, which were to come in from above. Because you notice that all of the guns are downward facing, all of the harpoons are downward facing, so it's not just sort of like a ship-to-ship action from a sideways, but true to Barnabas' form, he would come at them with the sun in their eyes and then fire down upon them, and obviously using much more humane weaponry than the cannons and spikes that are on this.
Well, that's still why it made no sense. You could tell that sometimes they were just like find replacing on the scripts.
Yeah.
Which is why in one of the episodes you have Hellman shouting updraft as they go down on their ship. It's like, that's not if you could define updraft, it's the exact opposite of what your ship just did, Hellman. Like it's. But like obviously copy paste from an old script where it's just like, yeah, swap Hellman and Barnabas, you're done. Like
and then so we're getting into some of the items here. There was a really great prop shop called Nefarious Designs that got involved in this, and this gentleman's fighting kettle is honestly one of my favorite props that I've ever seen, because I want a fighting kettle.
It was functional too, which was the great part of this design.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could actually fight with a gentleman's fighting kettle. I mean, there were safeties involved because we didn't want to hurt any of the actors. But if you got one of these and you were out somewhere where you needed to take care of yourself, a fighting kettle was an actor's best friend.
Yeah. So like the Necronauts, obviously, like you're evil but you're classy. So they were trying to design like what is something that you could both like functional and fierce. So that's why we have this kettle here where you can lock the lid on. It's like brass knuckles with a kettle on the end of it, but they're missing the pinky. If you notice at the bottom there, there is no pinky on the gentleman's fighting kettle, because even in the middle of a fight with a big steel steaming kettle, you still got to have pinky out.
Yeah, and like also burning hot kettle as a brass knuckle. I can't think of a more formidable weapon.
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing in the chat. I also want some Ships of the Northern Fleet inspired tea, and if anyone makes that, I will genuinely buy some.
Can I, you and I were talking earlier today, and can I say that my favorite area of the Discord is the scullery, where people have been sharing drink and recipes, and I want more of that because I cook quite a bit. Katie can attest to this. I send her photos of the meals that I make on a regular basis, and I want to make more Ships of the Northern Fleet food. In fact, I would even consider doing a Ships of the Northern Fleet culinary stream if there was enough recipes there.
That would be amazing.
I'm into it.
So I'm a vegan. Actually, if you want to get the whole thing out there, I'm an asexual vegan who's never had a drink of alcohol and has a weed allergy and is an introvert, or as I like to call it, Captain Party. And and so as a vegan, though, it's the vegan part, which I went almost 2 hours without telling you out loud. I almost goddamn died. That's where we get protein. Is that I'll have people come to me and be like, "You're vegan. What's like a good vegan recipe? My kid just went vegan. I want a vegan recipe." And I'm like, "Do you want like a box that you pour into a can of something, or like a bag that you steam in a thing and then you pour a box of something on it, like that? Which would you like?" So yes, if someone has a recipe, I think personally that Cogsfolk would be a little plant-based because they eat and drink off of wood. Maybe they'd also be eating and drinking some plants. So if you want some Cogsfolk vegan recipes, I'd love to see that.
Also, I mean, like if you, I don't know if you've ever put meat into a cog-based device, but it doesn't work out really well for the cog-based device or the meat. So it makes full sense to me that there would be mostly plant-based recipes there. Let's get back to Nefarious Designs, who did so many of the wonderful practical props the actors handled, and I mean. These kettles, these gentlemen's fighting kettles, were very sturdy. I think they were made of both copper, iron, and they had brass in them as well. Some dissimilar metals going on.
Yeah, well, so the interesting thing is in the lore of Ships of the Northern Fleet, a lot of the like precious metal, the good metal, was kind of savored. It was saved for like the ships that are going to have to go higher atmo kind of thing. So to have that in a kettle and like particularly like a weapon kettle was such a sign of, because like even copper, even like a good steel was such a sign of wealth, right? So to put that all together in this is just like, it's a middle finger of a tea kettle, and it's literally like you're gonna hurt someone with that. My favorite part of this actually was like they still had that, they used a bulb, like a almost like a easy bake oven.
Yeah.
They would use that waterproof light bulb inside, so that when you had the kettle going, there was steam and light, and so the last thing you're seeing is just like this almost halo of tea coming at you, which is just astounding.
Yeah. Oh, these were the fragmentation bulbs that could be used to heat water, but also when thrown could be thrown as a weapon. Because I mean, it's almost like the Necronauts designed it so that no part of the kettle couldn't be used to fight another day.
Yeah. No, even like if you look at the strainer there, like you could get a guy with the built-in strainer. Like it's a hell of a kettle.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the finest kettles ever produced.
Yeah. And Tip me over and knock you out, as it were.
I'm going to skip past one of those images because I wanted to continue talking about these things from Nefarious Designs.
Yeah, well, we all know what that last image was.
I mean, we don't have to address this. The real fans know all about this, and we're gonna glance over it because it's been talked about ad nauseum on streams like this. Let's talk about this spring hammer right here, because I believe this was one of those few hammers that was used as both a weapon and a tool.
Yep. So again, a lot of this, because a lot of the designs, obviously, like we don't have as many designs for how many buckles you put on a jacket if you're a true wind. No offense meant, but like you guys weren't using the tools. You guys, your tool was your brain, your wits, and your courage, right? So that's what they say.
If you couldn't buckle it, then a true wind didn't have it.
You're a swashbuckler. You're not a swash hammer. That's what it is. But yeah, so this is obviously one of the Cogsfolk's designs. And this was like as close to like an automatic jackhammer as you could get, and it was actually key activated at the bottom there, and you would kind of load it like a shotgun, as it looks like, with like that handle kind of like to like bring it back together. And when you really wanted to smash something, the spring action hits as it hits, and it's just this astounding, like, I would not want to be a watermelon in between this hammer and the ship's deck, is all I'm saying.
The interesting thing about the hammers, with the key with the hammers, was that key was described in the book, and then when we actually made them for the show, that was a safety device. And there was always someone who was on set who's sort of like, you know, when you're on set and they use guns, right? So they've got like a quartermaster who is going to make sure that all of the guns are loaded with actual blanks and not real bullets, and there's a lot of things.
And if, say, a day player picks up one jokingly, congratulations to that newly fired day player.
Exactly.
Yes.
Even though these hammers had a lot of safety protocols, like, you know, for example, the actual hammer, the anvils on either side were not made of steel. They were made of high-density foam. There still was quite a bit of force in those springs behind it. There was someone whose job it was to not only keep track of these hammers when they were cocked and locked, but also the keys that went with either of them. And there was a call out, hammering, and that what happened before.
Thank you, hammering.
Yeah. It was just amazing the amount of safety that went in behind the scenes to protect the actors while still being able to use that hammer the way it was described in the book.
I'm so glad that these came up in the graphic novel adaptation, because before then I never knew how to spell the noise a spring hammer would make. Like, because you got it in your head, like you can picture it perfectly in your head of it going with like the like tong.
Yeah.
Like it was like, yeah, like I got that, but like I never knew to do like KCH dash TOINNG. Like oh yeah, no, that's it. Like once you write it down, that's it. But like,
yeah, I mean, and the fact that they mixed capitals and non-capitals really allowed you to understand.
Spring.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. I think that actually is going to bring us to that brings us back to an animal. I think this might be one of the last one, but this is the clockwork owl.
This is the clockwork owl. So there's been series with clockwork owls in it before, which is an amazing sentence on its own. But obviously, this is the true wind owl that was put back at one of their temples as their watcher and educator owl kind of thing. So this would be the one that would check on who it was almost their security camera kind of thing as much as anything. But like, this is who's posed right over top of that entrance that place. So
one of the interesting things that people may remember, the Clockwork Owl had its eyes did a quizzical thing where it would just like it would open and close, and the way they accomplished that was by using the irises from two different sized cameras.
like on top of each other?
Yeah, on top of each other. Yeah, so that was how they got them to open in such a like an interesting and quizzical way and play with the light through them. So that anytime anybody walked up to that owl and the owl was like, I mean, that's how they got it so realistic. It was so good.
Every single one of these, you've got like the 8 guys behind the set trying to make one beak move. It's just astounding for the amount of work that goes in.
I think no, that brings us to the Gigablasta Mapmeister, which
actually. Sorry,
I'm sorry.
I want to talk about that. T-Villain is posted.
Are you kidding? Do you have the link?
T-Villain just posted to their Instagram story, actually. And I'm gonna just.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't do the audio for it, but I don't know how well this shows up.
Oh, I mean that is
that's a white screen.
Yeah, it's
that's
a big
nothing.
white screen.
Let's see. Oh, that's nothing. That's still nothing. I'm doing worse somehow. Yeah, T-Villain on their Instagram. That I'm looking at it right now. Sorry, this is.
Guys, get to T-Villain's Instagram.
On it. That's a production shirt.
What?
That is a box of production shirts. They have them. Guys,
wait a minute.
I'll try to pause it.
Oh, hang on. I think.
Can we? No, can you get one on there? I don't know if your phone's better.
I am.
That is a Ships of the Northern Fleet production crew shirt. So those are coming out tomorrow. Official crew shirts, limited quantity. You can see right there on the thing. Yeah, tomorrow, guys, it's happening. We are gonna have official crew shirts for anybody who needs a crew shirt, and every penny of my profit, again, for like my finder's fee of this, I'm gonna be giving that to the Trevor Project. So. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like jump.
No.
I picked up my phone because I'm getting these alert notifications.
No,
I'm like, oh, what's this going on here? And it's just, gee, wow.
So here, I can actually do this if the chat will bear with me.
I'll just vamp during that.
Yeah. Actually, so this question came up in the chat earlier, and I know everyone would like to hear it. Who was your favorite guest star that you ever saw on Ships of the Northern Fleet?
That I was so not one, because again I'm there for like teardown. So
yeah.
My favorite guest star was that one guy who cursed the sky. But oh god, so I'm like also like just like a hyper nerd, and like
I'm gonna go ahead and save you because I actually have got an exclusive photo of the production shirt that I'm gonna throw up on the screen between us. It is right here. That is
it's
right
Ted Raimi,
here.
by the way. It's Ted Raimi.
Here we go. There it is. This is the.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe they found that.
This looks so good. I'm so glad that they unearthed these from the depths of their warehouse.
Yeah, the T-Villain is a company out of New Orleans. I've done stuff with them before, but like I was talking to them on Instagram about this show, and they're like, "Did we not tell you about the box in the back of the warehouse?" And I'm like, "No, you don't tell me about every box in your warehouse, guys." Like, they're like, "No, like we have a box of the production crew shirts from when they did like the couple episodes with the New Orleans graveyards." And I was like,
"It's so good."
Show me. So apparently they called me out, and they actually got them up there. That's amazing. Yeah, Ted Raimi.
So, first of all, I want to thank Katie, who all of you better know as Annie. She is Infinite Quest in the chat, and she is dropping links to this Instagram, so everyone who's in the chat right now can go check it out. So we're just about out of time here, but let's take a look at this Gigablast Mapmeister here, which is interesting because it looks like it was. At least if I remember correctly, it had 2 different modes that it would exist in.
Well, it was actually the companion pieces for it. Not to like, I don't want to gatekeep your, you know.
No. There's no gatekeeping at all going on here. I'm remembering a different weapon. I'm seeing now that it's actually 2 different. It's companion pieces.
Kind of like how you get like those Nerf blasters
that
do into it. So in the same way that it was like less transformative and more 2-partery.
Mm-hmm.
But the Meltmaster here also had its companion piece that was like never actually brought on screen because it was basically velvet brass knuckle lightsaber. So we only ever saw the Melt Master. We never actually saw the power unit that's supposed to chunk into the back there.
Oh, okay. I got you now.
That's why it looks unfamiliar, because you're only ever used to seeing it with that back piece plugged in.
That's it.
But it was supposed to come off.
Okay, all right.
So that's so like both of us had half the equation. It's basically what
I see what's going on here. This is it's an amazing. I can't believe you found all of this art. We'll go back to here. You leaving Bridge Studios. We've gone for 2 hours, Mr. Nickel, and it feels like we've only done 15 minutes. I feel like we could do this again. We might
have to do this again.
We might do this again.
I'd love to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
If other folks were interested, I'd love to do this again.
Yeah.
I'd love to do another cast Q&A. I'm not saying I've got more unreleased scripts in a box somewhere, but I did say that sentence out loud, and most of the words were correct. So
I think that's going to do it for tonight. I really appreciate you joining me on. I think I'm going to do more of these streams where I interview other cast. I might even get some extras on. Any production folks who want to come on and tell some behind the scenes, we'll try and figure out a way to work that out, because this is not going to be my last Fleet stream. I'm going to Fleet stream for life and continue talking about this stuff.
I'm a big fan of it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we know each other to do this.
Yeah.
You're gonna run out of like personal connections and have to start getting people who know, like guy who knows the guy kind of skills out of it. But
well, and I'm so excited that as more of the fandom continues to come out, that you can get closer and closer on your fan documentary, and then you can start to share some more stories of fans and how Fleet changed their life. And it's really going to be it's really amazing that all of this is finally coming out and everyone is finally sharing how it changed their lives for the better.
Yeah, so just as an end recap here, if you don't mind me doing the little end plug for everything.
You end plug it, and then I'm going to take us to the outro credits featuring some of this amazing art and some quotes from the show, and it's going to be great.
So for those of you looking for it, the Art of Wear store, which is posted on a lot of stuff, a lot of those look like they are shipping this week. All the money from that filters its way through me as a finder's fee, I will be giving to the Trevor Project along with all the other shirts. Thursday, that's going to be 9 p.m. Wednesday Pacific time, midnight a.m. Thursday for East Coast. The T-Villain store is going to be putting up this limited run of production crew shirts. I want to make sure anyone who was on the crew, had a family member on the crew, and you know what, if you, like, I'm not calling anyone in the room liar, but if you want to just say you worked on the show, no one's going to know the difference. Just, you might as well play along, right? Like, oh yeah, no, oh yeah. I also worked on ships of the Northern Fleet. Like, see who calls you out on it. But like, anybody who wants to get in on that, even if you can't buy a shirt, maybe tell someone about the shirts, post it, stream it. The important thing is that, just like we've done viral on other things, the more it gets shared, the more entertaining it somehow becomes for all of us. So if you can't buy one, I get it. But yeah, production crew shirt goes up Thursday, limited run, so get them while you can. Much excite, and I look forward to wearing mine. I already have a Swiggity Swaggity mask in the mail, so it's going to be good. And yes, thank you so much for having me. If you're looking for me, it is Mr. Nickel, just as it appears on the stream on TikTok. I've been doing it since about March, and I've already got 100,000 of you following, but I could always use more.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight. I'll be back next week, hopefully with another one of these. Katie and I are playing D&D on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, let's take a look at some of that beautiful art and some iconic lines from Fleet. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
See you.